July 2025 for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Scorpio, this month, we're going to have, first of all, your planet Mars. Wherever it goes, you put a lot of energy there. It will be in your 11th house, social interactions, maybe festivals, maybe going out with friends. You can be much more active or membership in clubs, or maybe you can be more active online with other groups of like-minded people. Maybe you go protest because Mars is a bit more angry planet. Go protest somewhere or get involved in social activism. Or 11th house is what's happening in the world. This is the globe, global influence. You might be way more invested in following what's happening into the world and following the developments there, even contributing in some way collectively, who knows? Or maybe just, I don't know, going and some practical, because it's Virgo where Mars says something practical to help families, maybe with the friends or with organizations, build houses for them, like Habitat for Humanity or something like that. So these are the very high manifestations of Mars in your 11th house, with the South Node there as well. But also it can manifest in other ways. You breaking up with friends and you having some arguments online with people, acquaintances, not necessarily just close friends, colleagues or people online. That Mars there with the South Node is quite explosive. And especially around the days they conjunct together, 18, 19, 20, 21st, 22nd, they're very close together. And, be careful not to be part of big mobs then and large groups of people, because it might be a bit, Mars South Node, it's kind of like accident prone combination. So just, or going and doing something stupid with friends, that friends tempt you into something stupid, or you might just decide to end some friendships around that time, because, or not just friendships, but affiliations with groups, and because South Node is to end something and to finish a cycle and to release it. The South Node is the tail of the dragon where you excrete, and maybe some troublesome friends and acquaintances to end it with it. But otherwise, on the high octave, it makes you very motivated to change the world, to help those in the world around you, to get active in altruistic causes, for example. Or if you're a business person, that would be, or if you're a media or kind of person in the with influence, to be very active, to work on some projects. 11th house is big project. Mars is be active. South Node is to complete it, to finish it, or to be active, proactively search for clients, proactively search for new markets, proactively, this is all 11th house work, proactively search for new followers. It can play this way. But with the South Node as well, you might decide that your, certain aspects of your business or your plan need to be reworked, released, let go of. Then Scorpio, we're going to have Mercury retrograde in your 10th house, from around the 18th, 19th, something like that, 17th, 18th, 19th. But the whole month, Mercury stays in your Leo, in your 10th house, and then in August as well. So you have Mercury, the planet of your mind, of your skills, in the house of career. So some of you might be very busy with some work project that they have to finish, that they have to correct and edit, especially that requires mercurial skills, intellectual skills, communicative skills, skills of hands, skills of mind, knowledge, information. So you might be busy with that. And with the retrograde period, you might have to redo it, or have to fix something, or some delays. But it's not necessarily means it's bad, because the final result might be much better, because you'd see that project, that work that you're doing from a different angle. Or you might have to negotiate or renegotiate something with a boss or authority figure. Or you might, or another way it can play out, maybe you've applied for a job before Mercury goes retrograde, you haven't heard from them, and suddenly you hear back from them for a job that you've applied for before, some old project. You pick up, to revive it, to fix it, to make it better, to change something. Or maybe you start questioning your work, because Mercury retrograde is more introspective. It starts asking, are the conditions of my career, my work, the direction am I going, are they good, or can they be better? Mercury retrograde likes to research to find better alternatives, and maybe you think, maybe I can incorporate something else into my work, or maybe I can apply for a new job. But you do it when Mercury turns direct, which is from August in some point. And during the Mercury retrograde period, you examine different options, alternative ways it can be done. Or, as I said, you go back to old projects you haven't finished. And sometimes I've seen it, it's like some projects just get delayed and especially if they're connected to career. Some things just, mercurial things like arranging papers, documents, mental work, uh, gets delayed or put on hold for some reason, or has to be reworked somehow differently. And the final result, again, can be wonderful, much better than what you had before. Venus is in Gemini the whole month. And by the way, I want to tell you, no matter what's happening, Scorpios, Jupiter is trining you. When Jupiter holds a trine to your sun or to your moon or to your ascendant, there is always protection, especially to your health, to your overall well-being. And Jupiter is in the luckiest house, the ninth house, till next July 2026. So no matter what other things are happening, you are protected the whole next 11 months. Somehow God is looking out for you, and you'd feel you're lucky. You're at the right place at the right time. I won't stop repeating that for every month. So you remember the big picture, that you're protected. Every time Jupiter is in the ninth house, it brings expansion, growth, new point of view, new opportunities that you didn't even know were possible. It's like if you thought that was possible, Jupiter through your ninth house makes you realize actually that much more is possible, and start making it happen. And it's green light with Jupiter in the ninth house for foreign relocation, foreign trips for a whole year ahead, for studying, for learning, for teaching. But yes, but we were going back to the 10th house. There is Mercury retrograde in the 10th house. You might be reconsidering something about career, work, or dealing with some institutions or people in authority, having to talk out certain matters there. But there's also a new moon in your 10th house at the same time, July 23rd, 24th, new moon in Leo. So something new can also come to you in regards to your worldly responsibilities and duties and career. And the really big event, Scorpio, is that Uranus is moving from your 7th house, where for the last 7-8 years it's been, since 2017-18, Uranus has been directly opposing you. So a lot of changes, sudden at that, and quick, for many people with strong Scorpio, have happened in the last 7-8 years. And now you'll be left alone. No more direct aspect from Uranus, the planet of sudden changes. And you can take a breather. And it gets a bit easier. No direct aspect from Uranus. Actually, for you, Pluto is the main influence for many years ahead, which you're very familiar with that energy, but nothing like Uranus. Suddenly, out of the blue, a lot of changes, a lot of moves, especially through relationships that might have happened, or because of others, a lot of, and that made you helpfully expand it more. But now Uranus moves to the 8th house for 8 years. I mean, for 4 or 5 months this year, then back into your 7th house only for 2-3 months, 4 months, and only the very late Scorpios will feel Uranus again. Those the last 3 degrees from 27 to 30 degrees Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising. The late November Scorpios. But from now on, just listen to what Uranus in the 8th house wants from you. And it might ask for some of you over the next 8 years to have independence financially, especially if you are dependent on someone else financially till now. Uranus does not, will kind of, if you were say, there can be sudden changes in the finances of your partner or someone you've been relying on, or maybe the government's been giving you some, money that you relied on. Well, Uranus can suddenly stop all that and can motivate you to receive more financial independence. Or, like my husband just had Uranus through his eighth house, and he basically started investing our mutual finances in, so eighth house is mutual finances, people that come to you through others or together in a marriage or in a business partnership. And for him, a lot of the resources of our mutual business, he would invest them because Uranus brings high intuition. He invested in a lot. And if you want to do investments, you have to do it in uranium things. Like he invested literally in uranium, in cryptos, in kind of more Uranus ruled technologies and so on. But Uranus gives great intuition in that direction. And especially if Uranus is making good aspects from Gemini, for you say, if you have planets in Aquarius, Aries, Leo, or Libra, even though you're Scorpio, you can suddenly get very rich with Uranus in the eighth house, suddenly through an investment or through inheritance. Even my husband also received an inheritance with Uranus in the eighth house, which also someone had to die for that, suddenly it happened. And his grandma, it wasn't so sudden, but it was, especially if you have planets in Gemini or Uranus is making aspects from there. But there can be something suddenly connected to other people's resources and your resources that changes and shifts. And if Uranus is making more stressful aspects from there, it can be like suddenly you stop receiving support, or your partner has to change work and for a year. And it's not going to be the whole 8 years, only when it makes exact aspect Uranus from there. Suddenly you decide to start a business together, something that is about mutual finances, mutual values together, that can shift in a big way. Or I've seen others who she always worked all her life, relying on herself and everything. Uranus moves to her eighth house. She suddenly gets pregnant, and they decide with her partner that she's not gonna work anymore. So again, with the mutual finances, a big shift, because eighth house is also pregnancy. Uranus, sudden surprise pregnancy. So there was a big shift that she didn't have to work now and suddenly had to rely just on a partner. But if it's been the opposite, you've always like relied on someone or some external source of income to you that comes from others, there might be a change to the opposite direction. Uranus can always change, so you experience the other side of it. But I've seen people get rich with that, or people who have suddenly, or who have investments have big gains. So if Uranus is making hard aspect, sudden big losses through investments when Uranus is in this eighth house. So that's what I explain in my Uranus in Gemini webinar. I show you how to see where you have planets and whether Uranus is making easy or hard aspects for them, which years exactly, and what it means, how it manifested in the life of others. And when Uranus making stressful aspects, you don't want to do rush investments. You want to be a bit more cautious. And if and when it's making, because sometimes it might be making for a year or two hard transits from there, and then for a year or two sextile house trines, suddenly you can make big money to you that comes from others or your partner or some external resource. But eighth house is not just that. Eighth house is also connected to psychological breakthroughs, finding a lot of secrets, and being free from obsessions. And that can happen very suddenly. It can happen through a crisis thing. You're doing something secretly. Eighth house is what has control over you, power over your obsessions, your inner demons. And suddenly you can see you're really hurting someone and you break out of it. And I've seen people like cut it off and that's it, don't look back. Or you can find out if someone, as well, this 8 houses, again, secrets, you can confront and gain a lot of knowledge. Uranus is knowledge, higher knowledge about your own weaknesses and your own inner demons, and have a break with them. You can have a lot of psychological realizations moments, realizations that are so profound that you cut with the past very quickly. Uranus in the eighth house as well. Depends what, it's very amazing for learning astrology. Eighth house is occult, hidden knowledge. Uranus is knowledge, esoteric knowledge. So they combine beautifully, and enhancing your intuition and enhancing reading other people, just knowing if they're lying to you. No, with Uranus in the eighth house. So that's a lot of internal work, but I speak a lot more in my webinar about Uranus in the eighth house and Uranus in Gemini, about the eighth house, about any aspect it might be making from there. And it's only $20. So if you want to know more, you're welcome to check it out from the link below.